Have you ever wondered why dating is extremely popular amongst teenagers, with teens equally holding the most debatable opinions and questions about the subject of dating? I mean, 9 out of 10 teenagers selected at random would probably tell you that they are in a relationship or they've once been in a relationship, or maybe 10 of them, 10 over 10. And I guess the main reason is because every teen in the period of adolescence undergoes physical, mental, and emotional changes during puberty. Emotional changes including mood swings, intensified emotions, emotional vulnerability, building resilience, self-identity exploration, and sexual attraction, which yields the beginning of romantic interest. And this can be super intense. I mean, every single thing during the teenage years is intensified. It's like the heat of life is turned up on you. I am Lydia Mark, and this is the Enlighteened Podcast, where we bring to light topics such as this. So stick around.
What are your opinions on teenage relationships? That two teenagers that are, 17, 16, and they are faithful to each other. The man doesn't look at another woman and think about, gosh, she's hot. Or
all right, that has never happened. I'm telling you right now, it's never happened. In the history of the world, men have always noticed attractive women, okay? But I think I understand your question that, yeah, there are people that have been high school sweethearts and they get married and they have wonderful lives. But I think that's probably relatively rare, all right? I think that, I know when you're in high school, you think this is the end of the world if you break up with somebody. When in reality, adults, I mean, I thought when Gail Ledenham broke up with me, my life was over. Do you know what I mean? So, I think as Christians, we ought to be dating for marriage. And so, if that's the direction and you want to get married young, that's fine. But if it's just to have a relationship, I think you're going to create a lot of heartache in yourself and a lot of heartache in other people, when it's better to start dating when you're ready to commit. And by the way, if you're not ready to commit, you don't love the person. Love, by definition, is about commitment. It's not about, I'm gonna meet you halfway, or I'm just gonna try and get what I want from you, and if it doesn't work out, I'm gonna go. That's not love, right?
Yeah.
So be very careful when you're young.
Thank you.
It's a great question. Thank you.
Okay. Before we go into what I've prepared based on that clip, I would love to explain a few things. You see, hormones, physical changes, and surging emotions, all of which takes place in the average teenager undergoing puberty, can lead to a desire and romantic feelings, sparking up curiosity and interest in dating. A teenager might start to feel the need to explore the idea of a romantic relationship, seeking companionship and sharing experiences with someone special, which nowadays has been spurred by the media portrayal of a fairy tale relationship and the misrepresentation of love itself in our culture. The truth is that there's a ton of teenagers out there just like that girl, asking the very same question that she asked, and even more. I'm not about to do an entire course on dating right now. I actually have a series for that in the future, still preparing by God's grace, but I just want to dish out some things to every teenager out there right now. So dating in your teens is like making a provision for problems. It's like creating a doorway for complications. On top of the complications that you have for being a teenager, for treading through the most complex stage of life towards adulthood. Complications like heartache, heartbreak, distractions, sexual intimacy leading to unwanted pregnancies, sexually transmitted diseases, loss of self, loss of identity, that the only positivity in this seems to be marriage. And if it's not marriage, it's inevitably and by default something else, something that's really unpleasant. So that if it's not definitely for the sole purpose of dating, of marriage, you're opening up yourself, you're attracting something really unpleasant to your life. It has to be one of the two. You're either opening a door for marriage or the other side. You cannot sit on the fence. You cannot be neutral in this case. You know, one of the claims I made as a teenager in my early teens is, well, you know, high school sweethearts do get married. Well, that's relatively rare, just as Frank said. It's not just rare, it's relatively rare based on certain circumstances, rare circumstances. And at some point, I had to sit down and think for myself and say, hey, your life is way too critical. Your destiny is way too precious for guessworks and tryouts, which is what a lot of teenagers do. It's like, well, let me just play this game. If it ends up in marriage, well, that's okay. And if it doesn't, life goes on. Well, that's why teenagers are like mistake machines. We tend to make lots of mistakes because we're only thinking about the now. We're only thinking about the moment, what's in it for me in the moment. We never really think about the future. That's why we make lots of mistakes, take actions and decisions that endanger our future. And just like he said, love is a commitment. It's not just some warm, fuzzy feeling, as somebody once said. Love is a commitment. And the question is the average teenager who is still going through complications, who isn't fully developed mentally, physically, and emotionally ready for such commitments? It is also notable that what is happening to a teenager at an emotional scale isn't just sexual attraction, but a couple of other things, which includes self-identity crisis and exploration. I mean, you put these two things together and you have a madhouse. I've always said that self-awareness and purpose solves a lot of problems. One who is enlightened about their identity and purpose will be wise, intentional, and meticulous about every other aspect of their lives. You don't know who you are, what you want, where you're headed, and you've already missed it. Now, one last thing. The problem I have with adults when it comes to topics such as this is that they try to define how teenagers should think. They set strict rules and give commands and instructions without helping teenagers see why these things are necessary, without necessarily opening their eyes or making them see the necessity. I mean, you tell a teenager, hey, don't stick your hands in that fire. And the next thing teenager does is he or she literally sticks their hand in that fire because you said not to. Just because you said not to. I mean, it feels like we are wired to rebel. We're wired to break the rules. So, I mean, this is one of the reasons why, despite how much dating has been shunned by a lot of adults, more and more teenagers continue to date because it's like, these people don't understand, they don't really get it. They're just depriving and restricting us. And even though these adults do understand, they're not able to communicate these things rightly to these curious teenagers. I'll say in every math class or math test, people gain an extra credit for telling us how they arrived at the answer or showing it to us, which is what we're going to do. This isn't just going to be don't date or do date. There is going to be a lot of fact, evidences, truth backing up each claim. We're going to balance every single thing up, wiping away every doubt and question that you may have about dating. By the grace of God, we're going to dissect this. We're going to attack every every single corner, sweep out the dirt from the rug, and come to a definite conclusion. So this isn't just going to be an adult standing from an elevated POV and telling you, hey, I've been a teenager before and don't do this and do that. This is going to be a young person rubbing minds with you on the same level and sharing experiences, knowledge, research material, and scripture with you to answer your questions about dating. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more content. God bless you. Have a fruitful week. Anticipate the next content, and I will see you in the comment section.